Hey, how's it going, and welcome to another video. Alright, so I'm sure that at some point in all of our lives we've had the classic Persona fan conversation about which Arcana represents you. You know, it's always great fun kind of like examining yourself in the context of the Arcana and saying like, yeah, these certain traits I think apply to me, so I'm this Arcana. And I think it's just a really good exercise in like self-examination and being honest with yourself and saying like, yeah, these are things that apply to me, and these are also, like, maybe negative traits that I think also kind of apply to me. But yeah, it's always good fun, and today I figured I would do a video where I kind of examine my favorite Arcana, that being the Emperor. Since the Emperor Arcana has always been the one that I've kind of felt the strongest, like, connection with, and it also manages to consistently have my favorite party members across, like, Persona 3, 4, and 5 at least. Persona 1's kind of a weird case, but without fail, across those games, my favorite, like, party members have been the Emperor boys, you know, Akihiko, Kanji, and Yusuke. So today I'm pretty much just going to be talking about the various Emperor characters and why I like them so much, and why I think I see at least a little bit of myself in all of them. So the kind of odd man out in all of this is the boy with the earring, the protagonist from Persona 1, who actually represents the Emperor Arcana. This was before the Fool being the main character's Arcana was like a set in stone thing. So yeah, I figured I'd toss him a mention just because he is in fact an Emperor character, but yeah, not much to say about the little radical earring dude. So starting off, of course, with Akihiko, who is in fact my favorite Persona character. I've talked about how he's my favorite quite a few different times. But the main reason really is just the fact that I think Akihiko is kind of like the best encapsulation of Persona 3's message about the idea that, like, death is an unfortunate part of our existence, but it shouldn't be something that, like, ties us down. There's always something to keep striving for, to keep living for, and that you should never give up, and that you should see your life to the very end. And even though Akihiko, I think, is without a doubt my favorite character of the series, I would say that the actual kind of struggles he goes through isn't really something that I can relate to too heavily. You know, I've been fortunate enough to not have to deal with, like, the death of a loved one or a family member, really. Obviously, people that I'm related to have passed away, but I haven't really had to deal with one that's, like, really bad yet. But I think something that I find really kind of relatable about Akihiko is just, like, his initial feelings of powerlessness and his drive to get better, and just, like, the unavoidable kind of fact of reality that some things are just outside of your control. I think that is something that does kind of fuck me up, is that, like, usually I'm a pretty easygoing kind of person, but I do kind of get anxious about the reality that, like, most of life is really outside of my kind of sphere of influence. You know, looking back, I think some of the kind of, like, standout shitty moments of my life is just realizing that, like, man, I have no control over this. This is like a weird, kind of sort of hip and relevant topic, but, like, that's why getting really involved in, like, the stock market and cryptocurrency and stuff freaks me out really badly. Because, like, dog, I have no way of controlling that. Like, I guess if I really wanted to, I could be like, you guys, you gotta buy into fucking penis coin or whatever I happen to invest in. I'm telling you, it's gonna be hot. But I think that definitely is just, like, a very scary aspect of life is just the fact that, like, sometimes there's nothing you can do. I remember actually there's a moment in the Boondocks that I think is just like a really great kind of little philosophical nugget. Is this quotation here might be slightly off, but it goes something along the lines of, Huey says, "What do you do when you can't do nothing, but there's nothing you can do?" And Granddad says, "You do what you can." And it's like, yeah, man, you do what you can. A lot of the time in life, I think that's, like, genuinely really good kind of advice and kind of a good way to look at life, is just like, you're not gonna win every battle. Sometimes shit is just gonna suck, but you gotta do what you can do. You just gotta keep on keeping on, and I think that really is kind of, like, the thing about Akihiko that I find the most aspirational, the thing that I kind of like, and something that I kind of just want to, like, cultivate in myself as best as I can, is just that, like, never give up kind of attitude. That was a little heavy. Let's talk about Kanji. So, something that I think is pretty universal about just, like, the Emperor characters is the fact that their kind of story is about, like, their ego versus their surroundings. For Akihiko, it was like his own strength versus the kind of brutality of existence and the fear of death. And for Kanji, it's about like his interests and how society kind of views him for being quote unquote girly, or for liking girly things or whatever. And I don't know if I can necessarily relate to that. Like, I've always been the kind of dude who's pretty comfortable in, like, liking quote-unquote girly things. You know, I like Ouran High School Host Club. That show was my shit back in the day. You know, I like the color pink. I like penis. Even though I'm pretty kind of comfortable with my own interests and stuff now, like, back in the day, I was definitely the weird kid. I mean, I still am, but I think the kind of thing about kanji that I relate to the most is actually something that's kind of past me at this point, but it's just like the yearning for somebody to like see the things that I like and think, oh, that's cool. You know, back in the day before I started like using the internet and it ruined my life, you know, I was the kind of kid who was still talking about like Pokemon and stuff when everybody else had moved on to Halo and Call of Duty. I was desperately trying to find somebody who would like understand Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, how do you do, fellow children? Have any of you seen Azumanga Daioh? And I think after a while of just being the kid who's like, yeah, I don't know anything about Halo, I don't know about Call of Duty, no, I don't know who this basketball player is, no, I haven't heard the new Kanye West song, like, I think after a while of kind of being like that, I started to just kind of retreat into myself, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm not even gonna try. And it wasn't until I really started using the internet, like, around 7th, 8th grade, when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not the only one. Like, and I kind of feel like, looking back, the fact that I had, like, basically nobody to talk to about this stuff has led me to, like, overcompensating for it in my adult life. And, you know, now getting to talk about, like, an anime or game or whatever I like, that is, like, that's the stuff that I live for. And especially being able to share that love and, like, get other people to try it, I think is, like, some of the, like, unironically, some of the most satisfying stuff that just, like, has ever happened to me. Like, that's what I live for, is just the feeling of, you know, checking out a comment and saying, oh yeah, I got into Guilty Gear because of your videos, or I saw how much you like 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which is the game of the year 2020, by the way, and I decided to check it out and I loved it. Like, that, I think, gives me a real feeling of validation beyond, like, anything I've ever been involved with in, like, school. Like, you know, passing an exam, whatever, that's fucking really, who cares? But you checked out Girls on Panzer? Aw, shit, hang on, dog. Like, so I think that really is just the thing about kanji that I kind of, like, see the character and think, yeah, man, that's me. It's just being accepted for the weird shit that I like, having people that I can kind of talk to about these weird things, and not having a lot of the stuff that I like be considered, like, weird, even though it kind of is. And finally, we have my boy Yusuke. And I think when it comes to Yusuke, it really is just that, like, similar sort of drive for considering yourself to be good enough. You know, I think that's something that I've always kind of struggled with, is just like, even if everybody around me is like, yeah, I really like this thing that you made, I'm just like, yeah, it wasn't that good. I feel like that's a pretty universal problem for pretty much anybody that makes anything, whether you're like, you know, you're an artist or a painter or whatever it happens to be. You know, everything that everybody else makes is like amazing, it's fantastic, but everything that you put out is just like some dog water shit. And beyond just like video making, I think this is a problem I have with like a lot of things that I try to get into. Like in 2020, I started getting into building like Gunpla, the Gundam model kits. And to this day, I'm still like mentally fucked up by how, it feels like no matter what I try, they never feel quite good enough. Even though I'll like post pictures of them and people will be like, oh, it looks good. I'm like, yeah, but clearly you haven't noticed the nub mark right there, which is catastrophically awful and keeps me up at night. I absolutely have that problem where like, even if 98% of something is fine, if there's that one fucked up thing about it, I like hyperfixate on it and I'm just like, yeah, but that. I'm like this weird haphazard, like half perfectionist kind of dude that sometimes things like I'll half-ass it and I'm like, yeah, this is fine, whatever. I feel like I'm kind of like that when it comes to like a lot of real life sort of stuff. But then like, you know, to use Gunpla again as an example, I'll put a sticker on wrong and think like, man, do I deserve to live? Like, so that's why I think Yusuke is definitely one of the more, like, purely relatable members of the Emperor Arcana for me, because, like, I remember the part in his Confidant when he's at the art museum and the guy says, like, some offhand thing about it, and he fucking collapses, and he's like, I have failed. I'm like, dog, that is totally me. But yeah, looking back at the Emperor characters, I really do think that I see at least a little bit of myself in all of these guys. They pretty consistently have, you know, my favorite characters, some of my favorite social links or confidants, and it really is just an Arcana that has a lot of, like, themes and kind of struggles and like messages associated with it that I find really compelling and relatable. Next time I will be checking out you guys' favorite Arcana, so look forward to that one when it comes out. But yeah, that has been the video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.